Alright everybody, I'm excited to start a new franchise, a franchise I have not seen before besides the first one. The first one's the only one that I saw growing up. I was not much of a creature feature guy. I don't like, monster movies. I always liked the slashers, so I stayed away from this franchise, and they're all PG-13. So I was never really interested to check them out. When I like a monster movie with, monsters tearing shit up. So the fact that these were all like PG-13, I never really bothered, checking them all out. I always saw the first one on TV growing up, and going back and rewatching the first one, it still holds up. I think it's very good. It has some moments that age a little bit, a couple of like miniatures and whatnot, but it still looks pretty good. Like, this is a very enjoyable movie. And yeah, so I hope that the rest of the franchise is as good as the first one. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I got the whole like 6-pack here that I bought many months ago. And I haven't seen any of them. So it's like one of those like, like 2 movies per disc shit, except for the last two. The last two have their own. And then, of course, the reason why I'm starting this franchise is because Shrieker Island just came out, part 7. And so I'm going to be watching the first one and the 7th one. I'm watching this out of order. I wish I watched all of them before 7, leading up to it, but I don't think part 7 like picks up after 6, does it? Isn't it like its own thing? I mean, I hope so. Otherwise, I'm going to be lost. But this video here will actually upload, I think, after Shrieker Island. So if you're watching this, check out, look for my Shrieker Island review. That one will be spoiler-free because the movie is brand new, and this one will not be spoiler-free. The first section will be spoiler-free, but then I'm going to get into some spoilers for Tremors. So let's talk about the original Tremors. It came out in, 1990, so this was 10 years after Kevin Bacon did Friday the 13th. He's a star now. He did Footloose, and so he was starting to make a name for himself.
We killed it. Fuck you!
I think the biggest thing that most people like about this first movie especially is the chemistry and the bond between these main 2 characters we get in this movie, Val for Valentine and Earl. I think that they're just very great. Their chemistry, their duo, they're the type of friends that, they give each other shit. They have this rock, paper, scissors game that they play throughout the whole movie. I think that was a neat little touch. I like that every time they bring it up. Kevin Bacon's not good at it. He just keeps losing. But yeah, they're the type of friends that give each other shit. They pull pranks on each other. They make fun of each other. But at the end of the day, they're still buds. They're hard workers. They're trying to make money to get out of this shitty town. And boy, is it just shitty. It's worse than the town in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's even more deserted. How does this place even still exist? This store that's being ran by this old guy who I think is the guy in Gremlins. Correct me if I'm wrong. He looks like the guy who sells Mogwais. How is that place even still running? No one's even driving by that place. It's one road in and out. I don't see how that place is still standing. But yeah, the chemistry between these 2 characters is the biggest positive. I really enjoyed all the screen time between them. When they're together, they made me laugh quite a few times. I really like Kevin Bacon's performance in this movie. He goes a little over the top here and there, some of his lines. He's like, "Fuck you," and his accent that he's pulling in this movie. I just loved it. It's not a great performance, but it's it's enjoyable. I loved it, and I like the isolation, because it makes for a good setting in horror. When they're stuck, there's no one that can help. The power lines are cut down by the Tremors, whatever they're called, just like in Shivers. I'm like, what are they called? Are they just called Shivers? These are Tremors. I'm going to call them Tremors for the rest of the franchise. All right, so yeah, I just like the isolation in the setting, and the practical effects are pretty good. I don't know who did them, but they're pretty good. A lot of them hold up even today. I like the look of this Tremor monster. The mouth, all the different moving. It's kind of like Alien. How there's a different monster living inside the mouth, but this one has multiple monsters living inside the mouth that come out and start grabbing trucks and holding them down. It's pretty cool, and the way it has orange blood too. But yeah, I just really like the effects in here. The creature looked pretty unique. The movie just paces very well. It just gets right into it. I was never bored at all. Yeah, for a PG-13 monster flick, this has a pretty high body count. Like every other scene was like somebody else dying, like this old couple, and then these construction workers, and this person and that person. It just like it was like a slasher movie, but a monster. Just people getting taken out left and right. So I really enjoyed that too. And I think this movie does a pretty damn good job of like blending horror and comedy, because there's some horrific moments in it, but there's a pretty decent amount of comedy. I think it does a very well, job blending them together. Kind of like Critters. I mean, some of you will disagree on that, but I think that movie does a good job blending horror and comedy as well. And that's another creature feature that's PG-13. So this was just like Critters for me, where I thought that the horror and the comedy was, very well mixed, and it wasn't cringy comedy, and it wasn't like, the tone wasn't weird or anything. It was pretty even. As for any negatives, I don't really have a whole lot. The transfer for this is not good. The DVD, it's pretty grainy. It's very, very grainy. Does not look good at all. So I'm spoiled by Blu-rays, of course. And I mean, there's just some hokey dialogue, some bad lines here and there. Like one scene when Earl's on top of the rock, he's like, "You mean we're stuck here? That pisses me off." The way he said it was just like very silly. Very fun movie. I don't have much negative to say about it. So final thoughts: if you're looking for a fun creature feature, whether it's PG-13 or rated R, this is a pretty fun one. Good cast in it, some good humor, some good horror and creature effects in it. So when it comes to Tremors, highly recommend that you go out and buy it. Alright, time for the spoiler discussion. So we get Kevin Bacon and Earl here, and I like when Kevin Bacon's talking about like his perfect girl. He's like, she's gonna have big tits, she's blonde, and this and that. He's like very picky about his women. But then by the end of the movie, he learns to ignore all that shit and just get over it, just find the right woman. He doesn't need the check every box. And of course, this is one of those movies where the guy gets the girl at the end. Kind of a cliche, but whatever. So I like how this Tremor, it has like a POV above the ground, even though it's not even above the ground. When it cuts back and forth, like it has the POV, and it's like looking at the geologist or whatever she is, and then you can clearly see it's not even poking its head above the ground. It kind of reminded me of like Jaws 4, The Revenge. Jaws has like a POV above the water, but then when it cuts back, it's like it's not even above the water, so that doesn't really make sense. There's a funny little joke in here where it makes you think that they agree to stay. She's like, I'll give you beer if you stay another month. And they kind of give each other this look like, oh, okay. But then like hard cuts and they're driving down the road and they're like, I can't believe she thought we'd stay just for beer. And it's just hilarious because I talk about how usually it's always like, I'm never going to do this. And then hard cut, they're doing it. And this one, she's like, please do this. And it's like hard cut. They're not doing it. It's almost like the opposite, which I really liked. It's like, you think it's going to go one way, but it goes the other way. They're like, fuck the beer. We're leaving. But of course, they can't leave. They see the guy like up on the telephone pole or whatever it is. And Kevin Bacon actually starts climbing up there. Fuck that. Did you see how high he was up there? I would never climb up there. I don't give a shit. And then all these sheep are slaughtered. This guy gets like pulled under the ground, and they go there, they lift up the hat, and there's just like a severed head sitting there. And Kevin Bacon has this hilarious moment where he's just like yelling like, what the hell's going on around here? He's just like it's more like he's like annoyed that people are dying. It's not like he's panicking. He's just like, what the fuck? This is so annoying. It's an inconvenience to me. Now we're just stuck here and we have to investigate this bullshit.
Oh, Jesus! What the hell's going on? I mean, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, the guy like died of thirst, which is just terrifying. He was so scared to get back down to the ground. And then like they have like a piece of the dead Tremor on their car. And the Asian guy like starts like selling photos. It's like that's kind of funny. Yeah, but how's he gonna make money? No one drives through that town. How is he even functioning that place? No one's giving that place business. And then this old couple is like building a house on their own, like do it yourself thing. Like let's just go build our own house or like from scratch all the way. We're gonna buy all the supplies. We'll do it ourselves, even though we're like 70 years old. It's like, okay, this doctor is committed. He's like the local doctor. He's gonna go build his own house. And then he gets like dragged underneath the ground too. And then like the whole car, like this is the scene that shows you like how much deep shit the rest of the characters are. Like, you know, how strong these things are, what they're capable of. Like they can pull a station wagon below the ground, which I thought was pretty cool. And then that shot of like the headlights in the sky, and then like one goes missing, and then the other one. I thought that was pretty cool too. And then like the construction workers get killed, and I like that effect with like the jackhammer. He like punctures the trimmer below, and like the blood, or the trimmer's blood starts oozing out of the ground. But then like the jackhammer things like going through the ground. I thought that was pretty awesome, that effect. And then he just gets dragged away. All the boulders fall on the other guy. There's a lot of cool like actions, sequences in here and cool effects that I did not remember. But then, of course, Kevin Bacon and Earl, they find a way to kill one of these Tremors, and they get to like smash his head up against the cement wall. And then this is when Kevin Bacon's like, "Fuck you!" He's all like happy, like, "In your face!" It's just another funny moment from him. There's a funny fake out scare. I'm not usually for fake out scares, but this fake out scare cracked me up. Like when Earl steps inside like a prairie dog hole and he thinks he's like being like dragged under. He starts like panicking. He's like, "Oh no, never mind. It's just a prairie dog hole. Goddamn prairie dogs." And then they like have these convenient like sticks, like these giant fucking poles or whatever they are, like just sitting right there next to the rock, like three of them conveniently just for them, like to start like pole vaulting across from like one giant rock to the other, which is like the only scene I always remember from this movie is that one. It always stands out to me. And then there's a moment where you can clearly see the driver when there's not supposed to be one. Like the chick's like going through the back of the window. She's like putting her hand on the pedal, and no one's supposed to be in the driver's seat. But there's a moment where Kevin Bacon goes to like high five his friend, and he like goes forward, and you can see someone like in the driver's seat for a second there. I thought that was kind of a funny goof. Melvin, this prankster, he's like that prankster in like slashers. They always like do the fake out like Shelly in Friday the 13th Part 3. This guy, he deserved to die, and I think it was a mistake that he lived. I think it's because he wasn't like old enough, and like he was around that age where it's like it's a little too mean to kill him because he's technically a kid. He's underage, so kids are safe in these movies. And you know me, I like a horror movie that has the balls to kill children. And this guy, being the prankster that he was, I don't care if he's under 18, he should have died. All right, because he was crying wolf the whole time, pulling little stunts, and he deserved it. But there's a moment where, like, they get back to the store and they're like telling everybody what they're dealing with. It's under the ground, and I think they're on board and they believe them. I think maybe not, because he's outside dribbling a basketball like a fucking moron. So I was like, really? Didn't they just tell you? Like they had the physical evidence at that point, the thing that grabbed their truck and it was like severed off. So there's evidence to back up their story that there's these things underneath the ground, and he's just out there dribbling a basketball, and then like it pops below him and he starts getting attacked, but he doesn't die. Big mistake. He should have died. And then the one girl's like on a pogo stick, and isn't that little girl in Jurassic Park, the first one? She looked like the sister, the younger girl in that one. And this is like 2 years before that, I think. I'm sure that's her. And I like that the seismologist, whatever they're called, they study like vibration in the earth. She gets just her pants ripped off. Now, if this was an R-rated movie, she could have got all her clothes ripped off, and then we just had a naked chick walking around. And then, like, conveniently, this store just has everything. It's just like Bed Bath and Beyond. It has everything. Like, this little rinky-dink place has clothing, and it's just perfect, like her size, women's pants and everything, just for her, shoes and socks. Like, get out of here. There's no fucking way. Why would they have that at that stupid little place? And then we get like this Quint death from Jaws, where the store owner, he's like in the mouth of it, and he's like being like dragged back and forth. It just took me right back to Quint. Anybody else? And I love how these Doomsday people, Michael Gross and his wife, I like their characters. They're probably like my second favorite group. Like Val and Earl, and then them. Like, they're awesome because they got all the guns. And even the guns on the walls have bullets in them already for some reason. It's not usually what you do, but they have all these loaded weapons on the wall, and they're just blasting the things away. And there's like one unnecessary shot where it's like, the actor in the foreground, and then in the background you see like the tremor through the wall, and you can tell like the actor's not really there seeing that. They kind of like put the two like shots together, whatever that's called. It just looked not too good, especially with this transfer. It didn't look that good. You didn't need that shot. But yeah, some of the miniatures looked pretty good, but that shot, I would take that out. And then they come up with like this tractor plan, which actually makes sense. It's pretty good. I mean, the Tremor could take down a station wagon. I mean, could it take down this tractor too? I feel like it could, because it was almost taking down a whole house. So I feel like it could take down the tractor, but it doesn't. But then like these Tremors, they get smarter, and they're like scheming and making plans. They're setting traps, and the tractor falls in the ditch, and then they make these pipe bombs with the lasso, and they throw one to kill the other Tremor. It takes the bait, but then the other one's just smarter than that Tremor, I guess. He spits the pipe bomb right back at them, and it lands on like all the pipe bombs. And this moment took me off guard. Like, I was like, whoa, what the hell happened? Like, so like because of that, like Val and the other two, they ran like 100 yards away from the rock. Meanwhile, the other two, like 2 or 3 people, just ran a few feet. And then they're like, what the hell are you guys doing out there? It's like, how did they get so far, and why did they run so far just to escape that explosion? I don't know, it's just a weird scene. I was like, why did they run so far to avoid that? But then Kevin Bacon, he like gets the Tremor to like fall to his death. But was that his plan? It didn't look like it at first. He like had the pipe bomb, he lit it, and then he like threw it past the Tremor, but then the Tremor still kind of went and just, I don't know, what was that his plan? It didn't seem like it, but maybe it was. Now, the Clapper Award for best scene in this movie to me is the trapped on the rock scene, because it's just the scene I always remember from this movie. It's iconic to me. I like that shot of them like pole vaulting from one rock to the other. And the Hockey Mask Award for best character in this movie is Kevin Bacon's character, Val. He has some of the best lines, and I really liked his, little over-the-top performance here. And the Hanky Award for worst character is Melvin. He should have died, because he's a prankster. And the Funny Bone Award for the funniest moment in this movie goes to this scene.
We killed it. Fuck you!
And those are my thoughts on Tremors. What did you think about this movie? Put all your thoughts in the comments below. Is it your favorite Tremors movie? Let me know what to expect from all these other Tremors movies, because I have not seen them. But thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you like what you've seen here, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, Alpha Beta Z.